Hashtag you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Have you ever looked at your life and quietly wondered where the years went? Not in a dramatic way, not with regret loud enough for anyone else to hear. Just a quiet thought that appears late at night when everything becomes still. You remember the goals you once had, the ideas that excited you, the person you thought you would become, and then reality enters the room. The responsibilities, the bills, the routines, the endless cycle of doing what needs to be done, until one day you realize something unsettling. You are busy, but you're not moving. You are surviving, but you're not growing. And perhaps the most painful part is that nobody notices. Because from the outside, your life looks fine. You go to work. You take care of your family. You handle your responsibilities. You do what adults are supposed to do. Yet somewhere deep inside, there is a version of yourself still asking a difficult question. Is this all I was meant to become? Most people never say that question out loud, but they carry it for years, sometimes decades. And the reason is simple. Deep down, they know they have more potential than they are currently expressing. Not because they want fame, not because they want millions of dollars, but because every human being wants to feel that their life matters, that they are becoming something, that their existence is moving toward a meaningful destination. The problem is that many people wait. They wait for confidence. They wait for motivation. They wait for certainty. They wait for the perfect moment. And while they wait, life keeps moving. That is why Jim Rohn's famous quote carries so much wisdom. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. At first glance, it sounds obvious, but hidden inside those words is a truth that has the power to change an entire life. Because most people have the process backwards. They believe successful people start because they are confident. They believe disciplined people act because they are motivated. They believe great people begin because they are ready. But reality tells a different story. Confidence usually comes after action. Discipline develops after repetition. And greatness is often the result of countless imperfect beginnings. The successful entrepreneur once had no customers. The skilled writer once stared at a blank page. The athlete once struggled through their first workout. Every person you admire was once a beginner. The difference is that they were willing to look foolish long enough to improve. Most people are not afraid of hard work. They are afraid of being seen as inexperienced, especially after the age of 30. When you're young, mistakes are expected. But as you get older, something changes. You begin to feel pressure. Pressure to have answers. Pressure to appear competent. Pressure to avoid failure. And without realizing it, you stop taking risks. You stop learning. You stop beginning. Not because you don't want more from life, but because protecting your image becomes more important than pursuing your potential. This is one of the most dangerous psychological traps in adulthood. The trap of appearing capable while secretly feeling stuck. Behavioral psychology teaches us something fascinating. Human beings often choose familiar discomfort over unfamiliar opportunity. Think about that. Familiar discomfort, not comfort. Discomfort. Many people are stressed, overworked, financially pressured, emotionally exhausted, yet they stay exactly where they are. Why? Because uncertainty feels even more frightening. The known pain becomes safer than the unknown possibility. And this is how years disappear. One postponed dream becomes another. One delayed decision becomes a habit. One excuse becomes an identity. Eventually, people stop saying, "I haven't started yet," and begin saying, "This is just who I am." That is where real danger begins. Because identity is powerful. Whatever you repeatedly tell yourself becomes the lens through which you view your life. If you tell yourself you're not disciplined, you'll notice every mistake and ignore every success. If you tell yourself it's too late, you'll see obstacles everywhere. If you tell yourself you're average, you'll unconsciously behave in ways that confirm it. The mind is always listening, and eventually, it begins believing the stories you repeat most often. The question is, what story have you been telling yourself? Maybe it's the story that you're too old. Maybe it's the story that you missed your chance. Maybe it's the story that someone else has advantages you don't have. Maybe it's the story that you're simply not the type of person who succeeds. But what if those stories are wrong? What if the biggest obstacle in your life isn't a lack of talent? What if it's a belief you've carried for years without questioning? The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology existed. They believed that suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from the meaning we attach to them. Failure isn't always the problem. The story we tell ourselves about failure is. A setback can mean, I learned something valuable, or it can mean, I'm not good enough. The event is the same. The interpretation changes everything. And that brings us to a difficult truth. Many people are not trapped by circumstances. They are trapped by conclusions. Conclusions they reached years ago. Conclusions formed during moments of disappointment, moments of rejection, moments of embarrassment, moments when life didn't go as planned. The event passed, but the belief stayed. And that belief quietly shaped the next 10 years, perhaps even 20. This is why growth requires more than action. It requires self-awareness, the willingness to ask, is the story I've been telling myself actually true? Because the future rarely changes until the story changes first. And maybe that is where transformation begins. Not with a giant leap, not with a dramatic breakthrough, but with a single decision. A decision to stop identifying with your limitations. A decision to stop waiting for perfect conditions. A decision to become a beginner again. Because every meaningful life is built the same way. One small action at a time. One promise kept. One difficult step repeated consistently. Not because it feels exciting, but because it creates evidence. Evidence that you are capable. Evidence that you can change. Evidence that the person you want to become is not a fantasy, but a possibility. But a possibility. And that changes everything. Because once you realize change is possible, a new question emerges. If your future is not determined by your past, then what is determining it? The answer is less dramatic than most people expect. It is not a single decision, not a breakthrough moment, not a lucky opportunity. It is your daily habits. The small actions repeated so often that you stop noticing them. Jim Rohn often spoke about the power of simple disciplines, not dramatic disciplines, simple ones. The kind that seem insignificant in the moment. Reading a few pages each day. Taking a walk when you don't feel like it. Saving a small amount of money consistently. Learning one new skill. Keeping one promise to yourself. Individually, these actions appear almost meaningless. But life has a strange way of rewarding consistency. The results rarely appear immediately. And that is why most people quit. We live in a world obsessed with instant outcomes. Everyone wants visible progress, fast results, immediate proof. But the most important things in life don't work that way. A tree doesn't grow overnight. A strong marriage isn't built in a week. Trust isn't earned in a day. Character isn't formed in a month. Everything meaningful grows slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, at first. And this is where many people lose the battle. Not because the work is difficult, but because the results are delayed. The human brain is naturally drawn toward immediate rewards. Behavioral psychologists call this present bias. We tend to value what feels good now more than what benefits us later. That's why it's easier to watch another video than read another chapter. Easier to postpone than begin. Easier to consume than create. The problem is that every choice carries a cost, even the comfortable ones, especially the comfortable ones, because comfort often disguises itself as safety, when in reality, it can become a prison. The comfort of staying where you are, the comfort of avoiding failure, the comfort of delaying action. At first, it feels harmless, but over time, comfort quietly becomes regret. And regret is one of the heaviest emotions a human being can carry. Not because of what happened, but because of what never happened. Because of the possibilities that remained unopened. The roads never taken. The talents never developed. The dreams that slowly faded beneath the weight of postponement. Think about how many people spend their lives preparing to live, preparing to start, preparing to change, preparing to become, but never actually beginning. They gather information, watch videos, read books, make plans, and planning feels productive. But planning and progress are not the same thing. Eventually, there comes a point where more preparation becomes another form of avoidance. The truth is that action creates clarity, not the other way around. Most people believe clarity comes first. They think, when I know exactly what to do, I'll start. But clarity is usually discovered through movement. The path becomes visible while you're walking it, not before. Imagine standing in a dark forest at night. You only need enough light to take the next step, then the next, then the next. Life works much the same way. Rarely do we see the entire journey. We see enough for today, and that is usually enough. The challenge is trusting that small steps matter, because modern culture celebrates giant leaps, massive success, extraordinary achievements. What it rarely shows are the thousands of ordinary days behind them, the mornings nobody witnessed, the effort nobody applauded, the setbacks nobody remembers. Success often looks sudden from the outside, but from the inside, it feels slow, painfully slow, and that realization can actually be liberating, because it means you don't need to transform your life overnight. You don't need to become a different person by next week. You only need to become slightly better than yesterday. Then repeat, again and again. This is where self-respect begins. Not when you achieve something extraordinary, but when you start trusting yourself again. When your actions and your words begin to align. When you tell yourself you'll do something, and then you do it. Even when nobody is watching. Especially when nobody is watching. Because character is built in private, not in public. The world sees results. You live the process. And the process is where identity is formed. Every workout says something. Every page read says something. Every difficult task completed says something. Not to other people, to you. Each action becomes evidence. Evidence that you're capable of discipline. Evidence that you're capable of growth. Evidence that you're becoming someone different. Slowly, quietly, but undeniably. And perhaps this is what so many adults are really searching for. Not motivation, not inspiration, but proof. Proof that they still have time. Proof that they can still change. Proof that their best years are not necessarily behind them. Because one of the saddest lies people believe is that growth belongs to the young. As if personal transformation has an expiration date. As if purpose disappears after a certain age. As if reinvention is only for those with fewer responsibilities. History tells a different story. Some people discover their calling late. Some build successful businesses later in life. Some find peace after decades of struggle. Some become wiser precisely because of the hardships they endured. Age is not always a limitation. Sometimes it is an advantage, because experience teaches lessons that youth cannot. The question is not how old you are. The question is whether you've stopped growing, whether you've stopped believing change is possible, whether you've accepted a version of yourself that no longer serves you. If you have, remember this. The story is not over. As long as you're alive, there are still pages left to write. There are still conversations to have, skills to learn, habits to build, dreams to pursue, and perhaps most importantly, there is still a person inside you waiting to emerge. A stronger person, a wiser person, a more disciplined person. Not perfect, just better. A person capable of looking in the mirror with respect. Not because life became easy, but because they stopped running from the work required to grow. 1 year from now, you will arrive somewhere. That is unavoidable. Time never pauses. The question is whether you arrive by accident or by intention, whether you drift there or build your way there. Because the future is not something that happens to you. It is something created by the choices you repeat today. And perhaps that brings us back to the quote we started with. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Maybe greatness was never the point. Maybe greatness is simply the result of honoring your potential, of refusing to let fear make your decisions, of choosing growth over comfort. action over excuses, responsibility over resignation. Maybe greatness is not becoming famous. Maybe it is becoming the person you were capable of being all along. The person who finally stopped waiting. The person who finally began. So tonight, before you move on to the next distraction, before life pulls your attention in 100 different directions, ask yourself one question. Not what you want from life, but what life is asking from you. What promise have you been postponing? What step have you been avoiding? What part of yourself is waiting for permission to grow? You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need certainty. You do not need confidence. You only need the courage to begin. Because a year from now, the calendar will not care whether you acted or hesitated. Time will move forward either way. The only difference is who you become while it does. And years from now, when you look back on this season of your life, you will either remember it as another chapter of waiting, or the moment everything started to change. The choice is smaller than it seems. It begins with one action, one decision, one step. Today,